This one has been bothering me for a while. Why? Why is no one in the media, why is no one in the government, why is no one in this country speaking out and saying, hey, wait a minute, what's going on here? When gigantic countries like China, Russia, France, all of them are speaking out, including the UN now, and they are publicly attacking the US dollar and support dropping it as the world's currency. That's a big deal. I think the answer to why maybe is because people just don't seem to understand the consequences of what that would mean for America. Fortunately, I've been reading up on this for the last couple of years, and geez, let me try to explain it in plain English. We had World War II, and we were the victors, so we told everybody, hey, you know what we should do? We should have the gold standard, because you guys don't want to keep all that gold. It's all heavy and stuff. We'll just keep all the gold here at Fort Knox. So we put up a bunch of gold, and we promised the rest of the world that we will never, ever, ever violate the gold standard. They could just keep our dollars in their banks. Done, right? Not a problem. Well, it wasn't a problem. We got through the war and everything else. When it became a problem was in 1971 or 1972. We had been fighting Vietnam, and we decided that we also really, 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 really needed that great society. Well, we wanted everything. And what does America do? Oh, we decide we can have everything without any consequences or ramifications whatsoever. Well, the promise we made the rest of the world in 1945 and 1971 or 72, we broke. And all of a sudden the world said, wait a minute, hold on just a second. What are you doing? We said, yeah, we're going to get off that gold standard thing. I mean, it's just so 1945 for us. We'd like to print more money so we had more money to spend. Well, as you can imagine, the rest of the world was a little upset with us. But that's when we made them a second promise. Hey, guys, wait, before you dump our dollar, I tell you what, we'll just borrow a lot of money from you guys, and then we'll buy your stuff. What do you say? Well, the rest of the world, just as greedy as we were, went, okay, you'll buy our stuff? Sure. Well, we also had to promise them that we would never, ever trash our dollar. We would never spend like we were maniacs. We'd never do it. Well, now we are. Did you notice, when I was 45 years old, when I was growing up, this country was the world's biggest lender. But because we left the gold standard in the 1970s, we're now the world's biggest borrowers. And just like when it happens to you, if you are, really bad with a credit card, pretty soon people stop lending you money. If we can't afford something, we have borrowed the money from people to be able to buy it anyway, because we want it really bad. I mean, don't we deserve it? We work so hard. Well, now people don't want to lend to us anymore. So what do? We just go into our basement and print up some more money. Now, let me remind you, if you did that, it'd kind of be a problem. If the bank said, you know what, no loan for you, they'd throw you in jail for counterfeiting if you went down in the basement and you just spun off some more money and then went and bought that car. Why can't you do that? Because there's nothing backing your money up. Well, I got news for you. The rest of the world is finally catching on. Our country is going to pay a penalty as well because there's nothing backing our money up. After monetizing $2 trillion of debt in the last 2 weeks alone, our lenders are saying, I think maybe enough here is enough. They want out. China was calling for it. Not just China, but the central bank of China was calling for an end to the dollar. Well, as Rupert Murdoch, the CEO of our parent company, recently said in a memo, and I quote, "We are in the midst of a phase of history in which nations will be redefined and their futures fundamentally altered." You can call me a suck-up because he's the big boss, man, but you know what? He's right. I couldn't agree with him more. Our future is being altered right now. It's happening right in front of our eyes. This is the period that people will write history about, and yet nobody seems to care. Nobody seems to even notice the big events. Again, I ask you the same question I started with. Why? Joining me now is former ambassador to the United Nations and senior fellow at the American Enterprise Institute, Ambassador John Bolton. Ambassador, everybody's calling for global currency. I think part of this is a game, but I think also part of it is now the UN is saying, you know what, we should have a global currency. It's also a movement to tie the entire globe together into one big government. Am I wrong, or Right.
Well, I think there are a lot of different motivations. If you look at China, they're worried about U.S. inflation devaluing the debt that they hold, and their unwillingness to buy more of it actually may help save us from ourselves.
Yes.
But I do think there are other people in Europe, many in the United States as well, who don't prize sovereignty, particularly American sovereignty, as much as most Americans do. And the real test I think we're going to see here in the next few years is where the Obama administration comes out on some of these globalization proposals.
You know, he wrote a paper, I'm trying to remember, I mean, his plan is like the next big plan or something like that, but there's a secondary title to it. Do you know what I'm talking about? The Obama...
Well, a lot of his advisors have talked about concepts like responsible sovereignty, whatever that means, and it's a way of preconditioning people to get used to a lessening of the decision-making that we do in Washington, of transferring responsibility to international organizations. Now, they're never going to say that. They're never going to say, you know, we think we need less American sovereignty. They're going to characterize it very differently, but the net impact of moving in a number of these directions will have exactly that effect.
Right. Responsible sovereignty. I mean, sovereignty is sovereignty. And if we are indebted to everybody, if our value of our dollar isn't worth anything, we can't have any kind of sovereignty, can we?
Well, and that is certainly the consequence of inflating the currency, which at spending levels projected by the Obama administration seems to me to be the inevitable effect. I think too many of our leaders have forgotten the inflation of the late 1970s and the Carter administration, where it went up as high on an annualized basis as 18% per year, as one of the reasons that Reagan won such a decisive victory in 1980. People wanted to stop it. And because we've forgotten about the negative impact of inflation on our domestic lifestyle and on the international consequences, we seem headed toward it again.
You know, how do we convince anybody of that? I mean, there are too many people in Washington that don't care on both the left and the right. There are a few speaking out, but a lot don't care. A lot are in and just say, hey, boy, I want to be part of that, you know, that new deal. I want to be part of that new global network. And the rest of the people, my daughter, I was singing this today, my oldest daughter, John, was born in 1988. Most people don't have any clue as to what real strife is in this age. I mean, unless you're at least 45, you haven't lived through a hard time.
Well, then it's up to the baby boom generation to explain to everybody just how bad inflation is. Not that I'd ever give the baby boom generation much responsibility, but I think we have to undertake it here. You can see in this upcoming G20 meeting in the next few days, Prime Minister Gordon Brown of the United Kingdom has his own ideas for a global New Deal, and we're going to see whether predictions about the Obama administration being post-nationalist, post-American, if you will, are going to come into play here.
Well, I mean, you know, let's not throw Barack Obama under the bus solely. I think George Bush was not as bad, but he was on the same road. I mean, you know, we've been playing the game with the United Nations. Thank God George Bush sent you into the United Nations. I know you were extremely unpopular there. I cheered for that. I mean, I think these guys, they'll take away guns, they'll take away our sovereignty, they'll take away our currency, our money. They're already starting to put all the global framework in with this bullcrap called global warming. This is an effort to globalize and tie together everybody on the planet, is it not?
Sure. If you say all problems are global in dimension, then it's not much of a leap of logic to say you need global solutions, and what better place to have them than in the UN or comparable institutions. But this goes fundamentally, I think, to what the president and his advisors think of America. I think you and I and most Americans believe in what has been called American exceptionalism, that we are different from other countries. I'm not sure the Obama administration as a whole really believes in that concept.
You know, I don't know, Ambassador, how many people in America still believe that. I do, but that's because I read about the founding of our country.
I think most do, and I tell you, one of the great things that President Bush 41 said when he was accepting the nomination in 1988, criticizing Massachusetts Governor Michael Dukakis, he said in his acceptance speech, you know, Governor Dukakis thinks of the United States as just one more nation out there on the floor of the UN General Assembly, somewhere between Albania and Zimbabwe. And I think that characterization of Dukakis really fits the Obama administration as well, and we should be very careful as we watch it play out.
But